But I rewatched Bohemian Rhapsody, which I've only seen once, and I think it's a fantastic um, movie, a biopic on Freddie Mercury. They obviously, it felt a little bit, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it felt a little bit like the movie The Doors in the sense that they focus so much on the lead singer, as
Yeah.
they should, but they skipped a lot of the musical accomplishments and things with the band. I felt like Bohemian Rhapsody could have added a few more things of them on concert and that the band together, like doing things. It, but it is what it is, and I think the Live Aid concert at the end, their performance, which is always rated like number one in best performances ever. Um, what's his name? Rami Malek just like nailed it. The mannerisms, like he clearly watched that like 1,000 times. And yeah, I thought it was great. Do you like Bohemian Rhapsody?
I did. I've only seen it in the theater. I've not revisited since. And I remember, yeah, liking it enough and being impressed with Rami Malek enough. And that's the only role I've been impressed with him. But
Me too.
yeah. And then of course we have little Joey Mazzello, yeah,
Yes.
back, which
And
was
he's great
nice.
in that.
Yeah. So yeah, so it is, and I'm familiar with enough, but then I remember at the time they're like, well, some of this we fictionalized, like I was like, well, we don't need to do that. They all had there's an interesting enough story that we don't need to either make up stuff or whatever. But I know this is the movies and this is kind of what they have to do and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Fictionalize it.
and this is where I sometimes like fan service is a little tricky because like, do we really need Mike Myers saying,
Kids aren't
this
going to
will not, yeah,
headbang to
yeah,
this
it's
or
like, "Oh,
something.
yeah, and this is not going to show up on Saturday Night Live in 10 years, like,
Right.
uh, what?
That was
Uh,
too much. That was too on
but,
the nose.
but, it was good. And I kind of, yeah, it felt like a good journey. And then I agree, especially on the performances,
Yeah,
um, were great. And that's just,
he's great.
it made you want to revisit all the Queen albums again.
And I did. I went down that
Yep.
rabbit hole and I was like, they're great. And Freddie Mercury was people said he should have come out sooner for having AIDS and been a spokesperson kind of for it. And I can see that argument, but it was still new. And that's a lot of pressure. I mean, that's his journey. I don't fault him for not revealing because he revealed he had it and then he died the next
Yeah.
day. And people thought, oh, you could have been, you know, there as a
Yeah.
icon and a thing. And I was like, well, he kind of is still. I mean, but I don't know. I'm just curious, what do you think? Do you think he should have
Well,
announced that in like the 80s when he knew?
here's the thing. Living in the 80s and when AIDS was around, honestly, I'll say absolutely not. It was a horrific time that we'd have the president, Reagan, wouldn't even utter those words aloud until he had to. I remember Bryant Gumbel joking about it, until
Yeah.
it hit the heterosexual population and then it became a serious topic. And so, and it was just, there was AIDS jokes and whatever. And honestly, HIV was a death knell. There was no, that was
No,
it.
you're done.
And so, so people had to protect themselves. Rock Hudson, not only reputation, that they would become uninsurable. And so there was all these things. And so, yeah, I 100% don't blame any of those people that were protecting themselves, and then but also elevate the allies that did put their necks out on the line because they could, and Madonna could she'll just say it, and
Hell yeah.
not
She's
too many
great.
people would, even talk about it, let alone
Yeah.
she would just kind of throw it out there. So, but yeah, so it was a scary time, and but yeah, so I think people, because there's so every once in a while I look back, I'm like, oh, why weren't we? But it was like, no, it was not. It was not like that at all. It wasn't, not that times are rosy right now, but it was 3,000 times worse.
Right. Yeah. No, I couldn't imagine. I mean, now it's a treatable. You can live with it. I mean, I know people that have had it for 20 years
Hmm.
and they're fine. They're healthier than I am.
Yeah.
But to go through that in the 80s, that death sentence has to be the scariest thing ever. It's like being put in a jail cell that you don't know what day you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And not to get all political, but Reagan not bringing that up, not putting a light on that and talking about it is, I think, by far his biggest. mistake and black mark on his presidency. I mean, how do you not address that? It's running rampant.
Yeah.
It's new. It's your duty to protect Americans, and the fact that yeah, I'm not going to get into it, but
Yep.
that is a good point that you mentioned. On a lighter note, I watched Friday the 13th Part 3.